Last year I read a manga that focused a lot on friendship, specifically the benefits and challenge of friendship. The manga is super popular, Naruto. And what the book implies is that one of the benefits of friendship is that it pushes you and your friend to improve, and it's very effective at that. However, one of the biggest challenges that push the plot forward is that you and your friend develop a close bond, but you discover that your friend has very different values than you. And sometimes those values contradict your own values. And that can be a massive challenge for a friendship.
Then as you guys studied, Plato had a philosophy on this, right, or a belief in that one person in the relationship or friendship was somehow a little bit moralistically stronger, however that can be defined, and the other person maybe needed to improve themselves. You didn't make a distinction between values. You just said they have very different values, but not that you didn't qualify one as better than the other. How do you think in the manga that is depicted? Do you think one character is considered more good than the other character? How does that work in the manga?
I think one of the main points of the manga, it's challenging this idea by Plato that there is even huge difference between a good and bad character, specifically with these two. I mean, there's evil characters, of course, in a lot of the mangas, but between Sasuke and Naruto, the narrator wants to avoid us saying he's a morally superior person than the other, right? And so I really think the emphasis of the manga talks about how much forgiveness you need to have in a friendship. If you truly want to support someone, it shouldn't just be one-sided like Plato's kind of fleshing out, right? Like someone sits on this moral high ground and knows what's right and wrong, and someone's kind of looking up to them all the time, checking, and they're being pulled up. No. Naruto kind of lays out a way more messy and ultimately, I think, more realistic side to friendship, which is you think things are important, the other person thinks things are important. Each other is going to do things that are going to anger the other person, are going to disappoint them. But ultimately, the most important thing is to keep forgiving and place the loyalty you have to improving each other at the highest level, rather than having this almost teacher-student dynamic that I think Plato puts out, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been reading manga. Does this spur any stories for you?
Well, one that I think of when we think of friendship is a kind of a classic children's book, but adults get a lot out of it too, and that's Winnie the Pooh, which is called, I think the original book is called The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh or something like that. Anyway, Winnie the Pooh is a bear and Piglet is a pig, and they are very close friends. So the difference between them and Naruto and Sasuke is that their friendship is depicted as much less complicated, not as competitive as it sounds like.
Yeah, they're fighting all the time.
Yeah, so there's not fighting. So there's a similarity in that they both benefit each other, because that's what friendship should be, right? It can't be totally uneven, because then they're going to get bored with each other. They have to each give each other something. And so I think in the case of Winnie the Pooh, they just go with the flow, as we say in English, right? That's different than the manga that you are discussing. The quote, one of the more famous quotes from Winnie the Pooh, has Pooh and Piglet talking. Piglet asks Pooh, first thing in the morning, what do you say to yourself? And Pooh says, what's for breakfast? And then Pooh says, what do you say, Piglet? And Piglet says, I say, what will happen exciting today? And then Pooh says, it's the same thing. And so I think they find a way to just make everything work, right? Where it's more dramatic in the manga.
Yes.
And I think that's why Winnie the Pooh is always considered a beneficial story for kids and adults, because it shows what some would maybe in an idealistic way show to be a sort of perfect friendship. But as you say, real life is more messy than either the Plato version or the Winnie the Pooh version.
And when you have characters that care so deeply about what they value, it makes for an exciting story because it said, hey, you said this, hey, you said this, we got to fight about it, we got to recruit people, I got to get stronger. And so it all ends up being much more dramatic, where I could see someone who's a huge Naruto fan watching Winnie the Pooh and saying, this is kind of boring.
Yeah, maybe. Or they would read Winnie the Pooh first and then they would progress to Naruto.
I think that would be the right
And
way.
then hopefully Winnie the Pooh would still hold a place, but they would say now we're more realistic or we're more advanced or whatever it is. But I still think that Winnie the Pooh offers lessons that are beneficial to people just as Naruto does.